are you feeling? I asked Sonia. We just got out of the hospital. Sarah, our youngest sister, is pushing Sonia's wheelchair. I'm better, thanks to you. You paid for my hospital bills, Sophie. I'm so grateful, she answered. Don't worry about it. I'm your sister. It's what I'm here for.
So, how's work? Are you going to be in a magazine again soon?
Sarah asked. I sighed. Actually, that's the problem. I've been struggling with my modeling gigs lately. The competition just keeps getting tougher and tougher.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm sure you'll find a way to get back on track soon.
I hope so. Because we still have that other problem to deal with. Our company's bankruptcy. Yeah, that's been weighing on my mind too. What are we going to do? Sonia said. About that. Mom butted in. We all looked at her as she opened the door of the car. Dad, Mom, me, and my two sisters are inside the car when she continued what she was saying. I had a meeting with one of our business partners who would help us paying our debt, she said. I thought we sold our other properties and other stuff in the house to pay them. I asked. Yes, but it's still not enough. We needed help.
How much money did Dad lose in the casino to have that much debt? Sarah's question was kind of sarcastic, so I pinched her to lower her voice.
Dad cleared his throat. I'm sorry. I was desperate that time. I didn't know that it will just worsen our situation. I looked at Mom. What happened to your meeting? They said they were willing to help us, but... I frowned when she paused. But you, Sophie, have to marry their only son in exchange.
What?
I shouted, as well as my sisters. Dad was serious and it seemed like he had an idea what my mother was talking about. Hector Perez is a good man. He is the only son of the Perez family and his parents are old. That's why they want to have grandchildren as soon as possible. I couldn't believe what Mom was saying. Why does she want to decide for my future? If I'm going to get married, I want it to be to someone I love. And out of all the men in the world, she wants me to marry Hector Perez? I know him. He was my classmate during my freshman year in college, and he was such a bully. He was arrogant and had a terrible attitude. I don't like that kind of man because I'm sure if we ever fight, I won't win. Sophie, you have to understand that your father and I only want what's best for you. We know that Hector is not the perfect man, but he has a good heart and he's willing to do anything to take care of you. She's really serious, huh? Well, I can't believe it. But Mom, you're asking me to spend the rest of my life with a man I don't love? How can I be happy that way? Sophie, love is not always enough. You need stability and security in your life. Think about it. If you marry Hector, you won't have to worry about anything anymore. You can focus on your career and your future. I am annoyed. I don't like what she was saying, and why do I feel like I no longer have my own decision for my life? Mom, why are you insisting on me marrying for money? That's not fair. My sisters are just silent, but they're listening. I'm 23. Sonia is 18 and Sarah is 16. So I'm obviously the best candidate among their daughters to marry Hector Perez. I can't believe that they're doing this to me. It's like they're selling me to redeem the company. We've already arranged a meeting next weekend with Hector and his family, Dad answered. And you didn't think to consult me first? I said sarcastically. We thought it'd be better to surprise you. I blew strands off my hair as I rolled my eyes. Great. Just great. So what do I have to do? Dress up like a doll and impress him with my beauty? Sophie, don't be ridiculous. We just want you to be yourself and see if you two are compatible. Mom argued. Oh sure, because that's totally possible in just one meeting. Yippee! We saved the company. I'm a hero. Dad looked at me again as he parked our car at the garage. Just give it a chance, Sophie. Who knows? He might be different from what you're thinking. Hi, gorgeous. Hector was the first one to greet me as I saw him outside my dad's office. Was he waiting for me? He still looked the same. He grew taller, and he's fairer, but his appearance was still the same as the last time we saw each other years ago. Brown skin, thick lashes, round eyes and pouty lips. He grinned when I nodded. "Hi." I greeted him. "Let's go inside," he invited. "Future wife." His tone was full of seduction, but instead of being attracted, I was annoyed. When I opened the door, I gasped as I felt a slight slap on my butt. I looked at him angrily, but he just grinned and lowered his gaze to my cleavage. "I can't wait to taste that." He went inside ahead of me. I was irritated when I saw my parents with Hector's parents waiting for me. They were all sitting around the table, and it looked like they had been waiting for me for a while. I already made my decision. I don't want to marry that guy. He's too full of himself, and I don't like him at all. Feeling uneasy, I decided to speak up and put an end to the whole charade. I need to say something. I began, taking a deep breath. I don't want to marry Hector. Hector's dad was the first one to react. "Really? But why?" "Actually, I'm in love with someone else." There was an awkward silence in the room as my mother scoffed. "You're just saying that because you're afraid of commitment." "No, I'm not," I replied, feeling indignant. I'm in love with someone else, and I can't marry someone I don't love. "Who?" Hector asked out of curiosity. "That's none of your business," I said, feeling slightly uncomfortable. "But you never even had a boyfriend," my father interjected. "Having a boyfriend doesn't make it any less real," I replied, feeling annoyed at their lack of understanding. I looked around the room, searching for an escape route. That's when I locked eyes with Isabel, our family secretary. It was then that I knew what I had to do. In a bold move, I leaned in and kissed Isabel, announcing to the room, "We have been in a relationship for the past 5 years." Everyone in the room was momentarily stunned, including Isabel, and I even shocked myself at my sudden impulsivity. "That's absurd! You've been hiding this from us for all these years!" My mother gasped, and my father looked at me with eyes of disbelief. I leaned in to whisper to Isabel, "I will pay you. Just please, help me get out of this engagement." She nodded, but still wasn't sure how to react. It's true." Isabel spoke up, and she took hold of my hand. Everyone was in a state of shock, and I knew I had to take the lead and control the situation. "Isabel and I would like your support. We don't want any judgment or ridicule because we are in love." The room went silent again, and my father finally spoke up. "We will need some time to process this." Isabel and I left the room. I felt relieved that I had taken control of the situation. "I fired Isabel," my mom said as I stepped in their office. "What?" I can't believe it. Isabel worked for us for 5 years. She's one of the trusted employees of my family, and they did this to her? For what? So they can force me to marry Hector? They're out of their mind. She's just an employee, and you're the daughter of her boss. That's cringe. Your relationship shouldn't have happened in the first place. I'm sure she's just being ambitious and making you a ladder to step up and upgrade in life. So this will be a forced marriage, huh? Can't you understand our situation? This is the only way to save our company!" My mom raised her voice. My fist formed into a ball. "Do I really not have the right to make my decision for my life? Just follow us and someday you'll understand. This will probably be the best decision you can do." "You know what? From now on, you'll never see me again," I declared. While carrying a big backpack, I knocked on Isabel's apartment door, feeling like I had no other option. Isabel answered almost immediately. The sight of her made me feel relieved. I threw my arms around her in a hug. "It's good to see you," I said, trying my best to hold back my tears. "Why are you here? Aren't you satisfied that I was fired by your parents? Do you want me to suffer more?" she asked. I stepped away from her and looked directly into her eyes. "I'm sorry. Like I've said before, I'll pay you. However, I cannot do anything about your job. It was my parents' decision. But just like you, I also don't know how to keep going since I used all my savings for Sonia's hospital bills. I only have a small amount that can sustain me for a month." I wish I could have done more for you, Isabel said. But I didn't expect to be jobless because of this. Let's just go inside to discuss our concerns. I sat down on her sofa and said, I'm sorry. I don't want to be a burden to you, but can I request something? She raised an eyebrow. What is it? Can I stay here? I mean, temporarily. I don't have any intentions of going home unless my parents cancel the arranged marriage. Shouldn't you be the one to make the decision about that since you are the ones who's getting married? Well, my family's complicated. Okay. I'll let you stay here as long as we both pay half of the rent. We'll find jobs to take care of ourselves. Isabel replied, sitting down beside me. I couldn't help but smile. Thank you, Isabel. You're truly the best. Her apartment is just studio type, and there's only one bed. The only things that I brought here are clothes, underwear, towel, cell phone, laptop, and my wallet. I haven't thought about getting comforter and pillows since I was in a hurry. Do you have an extra comforter? I asked Isabel. Oh. She shrugged. I'm sorry, but none. I nodded. Okay, I'll just sleep here on the sofa. I know you're not comfortable to sleep on the sofa. We can share the bed if you want. I have been a burden to her, and I also don't want to cause her any trouble. But what she said is true. I can't surely sleep well if I lie on her sofa. Is it okay with you? I asked. Yep. Isabel and I had just finished eating our bowl of noodles, settling in for a movie night. I had been living in her apartment for a few weeks now, and we had fallen into a comfortable routine together. I was grateful for her company, and the refuge she had offered me from my overbearing parents. As we watched the movie, everything was fine, until there was a bed scene that involved two women. I felt the heat rise to my cheeks, and I realized how awkward it was. I tried to concentrate on the plot, but my eyes kept darting to the screen. After the movie ended, we turned off the TV and lay on the bed, side by side. It was quiet for a moment, and then Isabel spoke. That was a good movie, wasn't it, Sophie? I nodded, but I couldn't bring myself to look at her. I was too afraid that she would see the way my heart was beating faster. Are you alright? She asked. You seem a little uncomfortable. I didn't want to lie to her, so I told her the truth. It's just that bed scene. It was a little awkward for me. Isabel chuckled softly. Yeah, it can be for some people, but it's just a movie, Sophie. It's not real life. I nodded, but the heat in my cheeks hadn't subsided. For some reason, I felt embarrassed and self-conscious. I shifted my position slightly on the bed, trying to get more comfortable. That's when I felt Isabel's hand on my arm. She looked at me intently. Sophie, is everything okay? You seem really nervous. I took a deep breath. Let's just sleep. I closed my eyes and, in a snap, I'm already asleep. My eyes fluttered open, and in the distorted darkness, I could feel the heat radiating from my body. Something was tickling the back of my neck with soft kisses. My heart began to flutter, and my body tensed in anticipation. Isabel's kiss was gentle and soothing. I wasn't sure what to do, but I didn't stop her either. I turned around to face her, and even in the darkness, I could feel her looking at me. Without a word, she leaned in and kissed me. Her lips soft and warm. I felt a jolt of electricity run through me, and my breath caught in my throat. Isabel kept kissing me, moving down my neck and to my ear. She whispered, Sophie. I was unable to find my voice. I know she knew that she had awakened me. I'm still confused why she was not stopping. Even if I want to protest and question her, I can't deny that my body wants more. At one point, Isabel looked up at me, and I could see a flash of uncertainty in her eyes. Isabel, what are you doing? I whispered, trying to catch my breath. I'm sorry, Sophie, she said softly. I just couldn't help myself. I lay there, still stunned by the sensation that I had felt. I had always known that Isabel was beautiful, but I had never experienced her touch like this before. The warmth of her body next to mine was intoxicating, and I couldn't resist it any longer. Isabel, I don't know if this is right, I said, struggling with my feelings. I've been attracted to you ever since you declared to everyone that we're in a relationship, she whispered, placing a finger on my lips. I always think of you since then. It's your fault. As we lay there, I knew that I had to talk to her about what just happened. I didn't want to regret anything, and I didn't want things to be awkward between us. Isabel, I think we should talk, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Of course, Sophie, she said, turning to me and looking into my eyes. What would you like to talk about? I hesitated, not sure how to bring it up. What just happened between us? I finally said. Isabel's expression softened. Sophie, I understand if you're not ready for anything more. I don't want to push you into anything. I just wanted you to know that I care about you and that I'm here for you. Okay, but, I'm not sure how to act normally after what just happened. It's a bit uncomfortable for me, I said. Isabel stood up and pulled me towards the living area. She grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. Let's just watch another movie for now. It's already 4 a.m. anyway, and we're both not sleepy, she suggested. I asked her, what do you want to watch? You, Isabel replied. I blushed at her words. Huh? You can choose any movie you want, and I'll watch you. I fell asleep while we were watching the movie. I woke up to the sound of Isabel singing in the shower, her voice carrying melodiously through the thin walls of our apartment. I couldn't help but smile. As I made my way to the kitchen, I saw Isabel in her towel, a few droplets of water still clinging to her skin. My heart skipped a beat as I realized how beautiful she looked, but I quickly shook the thought off. Good morning. I greeted her with a big smile, trying to focus on making us breakfast. Isabel turned to me and smiled back. Morning, sleepyhead. Did you sleep well? I did, thanks. How about you? I asked, trying to keep my cool. I did actually. I had the best dream, she said as she sat down at the table. Oh yeah? What was it about? I asked, intrigued. She leaned in close to me and whispered, I dreamt that I kiss you. My heart skipped a beat as I felt my cheeks heat up with a blush. I chuckled nervously. Haha, that's funny. Well, we both know what happened last night. Why is she teasing me? Yeah, best dream ever, she replied. I felt my heart rate increase as I looked into her eyes. Did you enjoy it? Of course, Isabel said softly, reaching out to take my hand. If only I can have that dream every night, I'll surely sleep forever. One evening, Isabel suggested to bake cupcakes together. We put on our aprons and our laughter and excited chatter filled the kitchen. Hey, watch where you're putting that icing! I giggled as Isabel playfully smudged some frosting on my nose. She grinned mischievously and replied, Oops, I must have been distracted by your cute face. I rolled my eyes, but my heart felt like it was about to burst with warmth. There was something different about our playful banter today. We continued to mix the batter, our eyes locked in conversation, as we filled the paper cups with the mixture. I couldn't help but notice how our hands seemed to linger, just a little longer than usual when we accidentally brushed against each other. So, what toppings do you want to use? Isabel asked, bringing me back to reality. How about sprinkles on chocolate chips? I replied, watching as she pulled out the colorful jar of sprinkles. Sounds perfect, she smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. The cupcakes were in the oven, so we decided to sit at the kitchen table and catch up on our lives. We talked about our work, our families, and our mutual love for travel. Our conversation flowed easily, each subject smoothly transitioning to the next. As we were discussing our favorite travel destinations, Isabel leaned forward, her eyes filled with a sense of wonder. I really enjoy looking at the city lights while I'm traveling and sitting beside a window, she said. Me too. I like going to the parks with pets, but when my dog died last year, I didn't want to adopt anymore. It hurts when you lost a fur baby that you truly love, I commented. She smiled and held my hand. You can adopt me. I'm cute. I chuckled. Well, you're not a dog. But I can be a baby, she answered as if she's teasing me. You're so corny, Isabel. Suddenly, the timer went off, and we quickly got up to check on the cupcakes. As we opened the oven, the aroma of sweet vanilla filled the room. They look perfect, Isabel exclaimed, admiring the evenly risen cupcakes. The cupcakes had cooled, and we began defrosting them. Isabel carefully lifted each cupcake to add a swirl of frosting on top, while I sprinkled on the decorations. As we finished, we sat back, admiring our handiwork. They look amazing, I said, breaking the silence. Yes, they do, Isabel replied, her eyes fixed on mine. There was a moment of intense silence that hung between us, electricity charging the air. Isabel? I began, but she cut me off, her voice low and hesitant. Sophie. Now it was my turn to feel unsure. What is it? She leaned in, her hand touching my lower lip gently. Are you curious how this cupcake tastes like? Yeah? I nodded. She applied icing underneath my lips. I licked it to savor the taste. Is it delicious? She inquired. I felt a slight flush on my cheeks as I sensed her tempting me. Yes, I affirmed. May I have a try as well? She queried. Before I could even nod, her lips met mine, and everything else became a blur. I could feel her lips drawing the icing from mine. I leaned against the countertop as my knees grew weak. She placed her arm on my hand for support. The kiss grew more passionate, and then I realized that I was reciprocating the kiss. I'm really attracted to you, Sophie, she whispered in between our kisses. I encircled my arms around her neck. I could sense Isabel's longing as she hugged me tightly, intensifying the kiss. As we pulled back, our foreheads resting against each other, a sense of relief and rightness washed over me. Is it just me? Isabel asked, her eyes searching mine. I shook my head, the smile on my face becoming wider and wider. No, Isabel, it's not just you. As Isabel and I talked, I listened intently to her. I still have many dreams, Sophie, she said. When I become rich, I want to help your struggling company rise again, but I don't know where to start. That's very kind of you, Isabel, I replied, feeling touched by her words. Why couldn't I have such grand aspirations? But our conversation was cut short as Isabel hurried off to start her first day of work. I have to go now, Sophie. Wish me luck, she said, giving me a quick hug. I have to go too, I told her. My friend just informed me about a modeling job. Maybe this could be my chance again to earn some money. I made my way out of the village and was surprised to find my sister, Sarah, who was outside the village gate with her friend. She's still wearing her uniform. Her eyes grew wide when she saw me. Sophie, we've been looking for you for weeks, she exclaimed, her eyes growing wide as she realized that it was me. When Sarah saw Isabel in the distance, she realized that I'm staying in her apartment. Isabel didn't notice my sister since she just got inside the taxi. I have to message Mom, Sarah declared. I immediately came near her to grab her phone. Don't. They'll come to take me home, even if I didn't discover that you're here. They're probably on their way now. I have to get back. Don't tell them where I'm staying. But why? You don't understand. I have my own life, and I don't want them to take control of my decisions. My fears got worse when a van stopped in front of us. I immediately turned back to hide, but it was too late, since my parents already got out of the van. Sophie? Oh my gosh. Sophie? Is that you? My mother exclaimed. When she confirmed that it was me, she instantly hugged me. I was moved when she started to cry. My dad was at her back, tapping her shoulders. Where have you been? We're so worried. Are you okay? Why aren't you answering our calls? She asked as she looked at me in the eye. I'm fine, Mom. Let's go home. I shook my head to disagree. Are you going to cancel the engagement? I really don't want to marry Hector. And Isabel? I love her, Mom. Shh. It's okay. Just come home with us so you would know our situation. Then we will let you decide whether you really want to cancel it or not. She said, and I agreed. When we finally arrived home, my heart sank as I took in our empty house. What happened? I asked my parents in disbelief. It seems like all our possessions have been sold off. Where's Sonia? I asked her since I haven't seen her in an hour that I was here at the house. She's inside her room. My heart shattered when I saw the condition of my siblings. She's lying in the bed, looking very weak. Her skin was pale and her lips are almost colorless. She had lost a lot of weight. She's fine before I left. What happened? I asked. Sonia slowly opened her eyes and smiled when she saw me. Sophie, she said. I couldn't help but cry when I heard her frail voice. All our savings were used up when Sonia got sick again this month. Doctors said that she needed to undergo a surgery, but we didn't have enough money, so we decided to bring her home. Hector's family said they will pay for all our debts and Sonia's hospital bills, but only if you agree to marry him. We don't have any other choice. We can only afford to have Sonia treated if we can find a buyer of our house within 2 weeks. But after that, you will have nowhere else to go. It finally sunk in how hard the situation was for my family. At that moment, I knew I had to make a decision. I walked in the church, heading towards Hector, the man I was going to marry. When Hector and I finally faced each other, tears streamed down my face as I saw Isabel, the woman I loved, standing at the church door. Isabel simply looked at me and nodded before leaving. From that day onwards, I never saw Isabel again. Hector's family is true to their words. They helped us. Sonia recovered and our business flourished again. But I wasn't happy. I know that within me, something is missing and left broken. Over the course of 5 years, I made an effort to love Hector by serving him, preparing delicious breakfast, and feeding him regularly. To avoid friction, I refrained from acting bossy because I was aware that a docile and obedient partner is more desirable to him. I also talked to him often in hopes that my feelings towards him would intensify, but sadly, they never did. Ever since I tied the knot with Hector, my life has been completely dismal. He always carries an angry demeanor, and the only time he is cordial towards me is when he desires to have sex. However, once the act is over, he shuts down and doesn't want to communicate. His mood worsened when he discovered he was sterile, and his anger towards me had only grown. When he's upset, I bear the brunt of it. My heart races in my chest as I sit here in the passenger seat of the car, staring blankly out of the window. These bruises on my face and my arms serve as painful reminders of the physical abuse I endure every day at the hands of my own husband. Fear has become my constant companion, suffocating me with the constant threat of harm to my family if I dare to speak out. We're driving down a deserted road now, and I can feel Hector's anger brewing just below the surface. It started as an argument over something trivial, but it quickly escalated into another violent episode. Out of nowhere, his hand strikes me hard across my already delicate face. Tears well up in my eyes as the pain coursed through my body. I feel trapped, suffocating under Hector's manipulation and control. Desperation claws at me, and without thinking, I unbuckle my seatbelt and fling open the car door. Help! Someone please! Help me! I scream, my words echoing through the empty countryside, consumed with a single desire for escape. I collide with someone on the side of the road, and my eyes widen with disbelief. Before me stands Isabel, the woman I loved whom I haven't seen in 5 years. She offers me her hand, steadying me in my tremble state. Sophie? She asked. Help me, please! I cried. Is that really you, Sophie? Isabel asked, her voice full of genuine concern. I managed a weak nod, my bruised and battered face unable to hide the mix of shock, fear, and relief that coursed through me at this unexpected encounter. Isabel's eyes widen in horror as she takes in my appearance. Without hesitation, she balls her fist and delivers a swift kick to Hector's face, making him stumble backward in pain. How dare you! You'll pay for what you have done! Isabel's voice drips with fiery determination. She reaches for my trembling hand and pulls me towards her car. We're going to the police right now. As we approach the nearest police station, I struggle to put my fragmented thoughts into words. My hands tremble as I recount the years of abuse, finally breaking free from the chains that have bound me. The police officers stare at me in disbelief, their expressions hardened with determination as they listen to my harrowing tale. We'll begin gathering evidence and prepare to apprehend him, they said. I feel a sense of calmness washed over me upon hearing those words. How are you? Isabel asked. It's been a year since the last time I saw you. I never imagined you would go through something like this. I couldn't find the words to respond. I simply hugged Isabel tightly and cried in her arms. Finally, after years of waiting, I saw her again. As I recovered from that traumatic scene, Isabel and I stayed at a cafe. She asked me if I could catch up with her and I agreed. After not seeing each other for 5 years, I was interested to know how she has been. She changed a lot. She's more sophisticated now, and I'm not surprised that now she has her own car. After all, she's very responsible and dedicated. So, what happened in the past 5 years? I asked while sipping my coffee. Isabel smiled at me and replied, I've been busy trying out different jobs until I figured out what I really wanted to do. And fortunately, now I own my own business. I was impressed with her success and told her, Wow, you've come a long way. I'm genuinely happy for you. Suddenly, the tone of her voice changed when she said, But, there's still one thing that hasn't changed in the last 5 years. I raised an eyebrow in confusion, wondering what she was talking about. What is it? She took a deep breath and said, I still love you, Sophie. That statement made me shocked, and I will do everything in my power to get you away from Hector. My heart skipped a beat, and I was taken aback by her confession. I didn't know how to respond to this, since it's very unexpected, and I know that my feelings for her were never gone. But she continued, I know you're still with him, Sophie, but I can see that he is not treating you well. I want to help you. I want to be there for you. I was nervous and unsure by my emotions. I don't know what to do. I'm confused and lost. My family owe Hector a lot of money. I can't just leave him and act like he didn't help us. Isabel softly took my hand and gave it a reassuring squeeze. I understand, Sophie. I'm here for you. Tears fell from my eyes. I'm not really sure what I want in this life anymore. She hugged me when I began to sob. Freedom, she answered. That's what I think you need. My family had always been Hector's biggest supporters. They loved him for how he helped them when they needed it the most. However, when they discovered that he had been physically abusing me, everything changed. They urged me to file a divorce and a case against Hector, and even offered to help me throughout the entire process. I was hesitant at first, weighing the pros and cons of getting the authorities involved. A part of me didn't want to ruin Hector's life, even though he made mine a living hell. But my family wouldn't hear of it. They reminded me that what Hector did to me was not acceptable and that he needed to face the consequences of his actions. Days turned into weeks, and eventually, I started feeling grateful for the little things Isabel would do for me. She would call me every day to check up on me, send me care packages, and make sure that I was still taking care of myself. One evening, we were sitting on the couch, watching a movie, and I finally told her about the pressed charges. Isabel, I pressed charges against Hector, and he's behind the bars. She turned to me, her eyes wide with surprise and worry. Sophie, Are you okay? That must have been hard. I took her hand, feeling overwhelmed with emotion as I spoke. I'm okay. Thanks to you and my family. I couldn't have done it without you. We sat in silence for a while after that, and I finally voiced what had been in my mind. Isabel, I have something to tell you. She turned to me curious. What is it? I still love you. My feelings never change, and I was honestly waiting for our second chance, even if it seemed so impossible. Isabel's face lit up with joy as she replied, Sophie, I've been waiting to hear those words from you. I love you too. I felt a sense of relief wash over me as she reciprocated my feelings. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my chest, and I knew that finally, I had found the love I deserved. The days that followed were filled with happiness and excitement as Isabel and I fell into a new routine as a couple. We would go on walks, cook meals together, and spend hours talking and laughing. One weekend, we planned a trip to the beach. It was just the two of us, and we spent the day lounging in the sun, reading books, and taking walks along the shore. As the sun began to set, Isabel pulled me closer, and we kissed. And in that moment, I knew that she was the one for me. Months turned into a year, and eventually, Isabel asked me to move in with her. It was a nerve-wracking decision, but I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. As we stood in our new apartment, unpacking boxes, I couldn't help but feel grateful for everything that had happened in the last few years. I was thankful for Isabel's unwavering love and support, for my family who had been there through it all, and for the chance to start a new life with the person I loved. In the end, Isabel and I got our happy ending. We were together, and we were in love. And I knew that no matter what life would throw in our way, we would face it together, hand in hand.